Hi there. Thanks for stopping by and checking out Smiles from the Soul. My name is Michelle. I want to start today by telling a little bit about what inspired this video. A very good friend of mine recently lost her dad. Her father passed away just a few weeks ago, and we all know what it's like navigating the loss of a loved one. It's extremely difficult. And this just reminded me of something that brought a tremendous amount of comfort to me, and I thought it was worth sharing. And I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. It's just my hopes are just to possibly bring you some comfort and hope in the thoughts that maybe there's more to our relationship with our loved ones than we fully understand. Because I can't provide the meaning of these visitation dreams that I'm about to tell you about, but I can just tell you that they profoundly changed the way that I think about and look at death. So, first experience that I had was at a pretty young age. I was just out of high school, and a cousin of mine that I was very close to, he had actually invited me to his home. I will never forget, it's like yesterday. It was a Friday night. He had an old Chevelle that he had worked on and got it running and just got it registered and really wanted me to see his car. He was so excited about it. He had invited a few friends over and asked me if I could please make it down. At the time, I lived about a half an hour away. I told him I would try. And I had plans to go on vacation the next day, leaving early the next morning, which meant I had to wake up at about 4 o'clock in the morning to make my way to the airport. So I decided that really probably wasn't gonna make it that night. Wasn't gonna make it to see my cousin. I went about my day, finished getting my clothes packed, went to bed, got up early, spent my week in Barbados, had a wonderful time, only to come home and find out, after being gone for a week, that very evening, he was killed in that car with a couple of his friends. A few of his friends also passed. So, very real truth is, if I had been there, I also could have lost my life in that accident. But I wasn't there. And not only was I dealing with tremendous amount of grief and losing someone who was a cousin, but also a very good friend. I loved him. I was very close to him. And I wasn't just troubled by the loss. I was troubled with the guilt. It was such a difficult time for me. It was so hard to process all of it. It was the first time I had ever really lost anyone close to me. And of course, I kept telling myself, if I had gone, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Maybe we wouldn't have taken that route. Maybe something would have been different. Everything went through my mind. And I struggled deeply for months, for a very long time. I could cry at the drop of a hat. It was so hard. Until one night, in a dream, he came to me. And I can tell you that it was as real as I'm sitting here today. It was more real than any other dream that I've ever had. He walked up to me in a situation that was familiar, that we had been in before. No one around us could hear him or me as I was screaming, "Oh my gosh, Todd's here, guys, look." Everyone kind of went about their thing, and the dream just focused on the two of us, and I cried, and he hugged me, and he told me he loved me, and that he was okay, and not to worry, and to stop grieving, and to not feel guilty that I wasn't supposed to be there, and it was okay, and that he'd always love me. And we hugged, and I told him I loved him, and he walked away, and I woke up with the only thing I can describe is just this huge relief off of my shoulders. I didn't feel the guilt. Of course, I still had the loss, but I really felt his embrace. It was as real as anything. And it was amazing. And it helped me so much, I can't even explain. And a lot of years went by. And then in 2017, my dad passed away. And that too was extremely difficult, of course, the loss of a parent. And it had been some years after my dad had passed. Now I had lots of situations where I feel like my dad was communicating with me through music. Songs would come on. I would ask him to help me find something. I would talk to him almost every day. And I felt a knowing when he was present. Or if I was looking for something in the house that I couldn't find, 100% of the time I would turn and find it after I asked, Dad, help me find this. And then I would. So I had some interesting things that you could call a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, but I felt a good connection with my dad. I've read a lot of books. I think I've mentioned that before. And I had just finished reading a book titled Spirit Talker. And I can't right now think of the author, but I will put it in the description of this video because I like to give credit where credit's due. It was written by a Native American Indian. And one of the things that he talks about in talking about how we can communicate with our loved ones, that's his belief. He said, speak the words out loud and tell them that I want to hear from you. So I did that. It was one Friday night. I remember this like it was yesterday. It was about a year ago now, maybe a year and a half. It was a Friday evening. I was working remotely. I was at home. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it popped in my head. And I just said out loud, Dad, I want to see you. I won't be afraid. Now, it's not entirely true because if my dad showed up in my kitchen, I'm pretty sure I'd be a little bit worried. But I said it. And I said, I want to hear from you. I want to see you. I want to see you, Dad. And then honestly, I forgot about it. I finished my day at work. I had dinner with my husband that night, our normal routine, and I went to bed. And my dad came to me that evening, that very evening. I had a dream that was the most real dream, just like the dream with my cousin. Even more vivid than any dream or this moment right now. I will never forget. I was in this little cafe. I don't know where it was. It wasn't a place I was familiar with, but there were lots of people in there and there was loud chatter. And as I looked out a window, I saw my dad walking down the street. And I said to everybody, oh my gosh, that's my dad. And I ran to the door and I ran outside, and sure enough, it was my father. And he walked up to me and with this big embrace that to this day, I can feel that embrace. And I'm crying, and I was like, oh my God, Dad, just like you would if you saw your loved one that has been gone for 5 years. And he told me how much he loved me. And he told me how amazing it is where he is, that it's beautiful. And there are colors that I'd never understand, that he can't even describe. He told me things that he's been doing. And we had a conversation. We were walking down the street. We sat for a while on, I don't even remember what it was, a concrete bench of some kind. And we had a conversation. And it was fairly lengthy. It felt like a very long time. And it was so real. And I cried. And I gave him a hug. And he told me how much he loves me. And I told him how much I love him. And he told me he's always with me. And we walked down the street together and got to the end of like where there was an intersection in the street, and he went one way, and as I turned to follow him, he was gone. And I woke up in tears, crying, but more tears of joy. Just, oh my gosh, that was my dad. And he is definitely still with me. And he does hear me. He hears me because I asked him that very day to show yourself to me, and he did. So I'm sharing these experiences not because I'm trying to convince anyone of anything, because nothing means anything until you experience it yourself. And maybe you have and didn't understand it or didn't believe it. But if you did, I have a feeling you did believe it, because there is just a knowing that comes with an experience like that. So I'm just sharing this today in light of my very good friend's recent situation. And if you or anyone you know are experiencing grief right now, loss, I mean, it takes a long time to get over the loss of a loved one. Share this with them. I'm just offering this as some comfort, some hope around the fact that maybe the relationship that we have with our loved ones goes deeper than we really understand. I don't know what those dreams meant. All I know is that they changed my life. They really did. They made me think much differently about our life and what happens when we do pass, and that they are still, I truly believe, they're still around us. They know what's going on, they hear us, and not necessarily that my dad's living in my house, but just that with the thought or the spoken word, he's here. And he hears me, and he still loves me, and he's well. He's doing really well. He's doing amazing, in fact, and I truly believe that. So I hope you take these stories and they maybe provide you with some comfort. And again, feel free to share this with someone that you may know that's going through a difficult time. Feel free to share in the comments if you've experienced something like this. Maybe you didn't understand it. You know, I've had situations and experiences with evidential mediums, and I can tell you that they have told me things that only my father would know. So I felt very confident in the reality of that. But these dreams were something very special. And so I just wanted to share that. Again, feel free to share any comments that you have and any experiences that you've had. If you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Like this video if you've liked it. Share it with people that you care about that maybe are going through a difficult time. And until the next time, I will end with one question. Who did you make smile today? Thanks so much.